Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and as always, it's great to be able to spend some time with you today. I hope you've been enjoying the little sojourn we've taken into Mac laptops relatively new to quite a bit older. And there's more of that content coming, definitely. But I'd like to spend our time today, and maybe the next couple of videos after this, returning to the world of Power Macs. And I am going to feature an example of one of the most powerful Power Macs available in mid-1999. And there you see it. The iconic Power Mac G3 blue and white. And it was a powerful machine in its day. You know, we're going to look at it, and I think we'll see today is obviously not its day, but it is a piece of history. It's an original. No, it was not the original Power Mac G3. There were several iterations that came before it. It was basically the last of the Power Mac G3s. However, this is where this iconic, easy to open, easy to upgrade case, probably the easiest one that Apple has ever done. Well, of course, today they don't do that unless you've got the money to buy a new Mac Pro. But it's amazing. So, I'm going to take a closer look at it. And if you would like to do that too, please stay tuned. Well, let's start out with a side-by-side comparison. Obviously, there are two Macs here. The G3, blue and white, is proudly identifying itself through the acrylic, as you can see there. Something that they went away from. The case in the G3 was patterned largely after the immensely popular iMac G3, which of course had that colorful acrylics. And that's what they were going for here. I guess they determined that for the professional market, they were better off with something more sedate, shall we say. So, we ended up here on the right with a Sawtooth. There was a computer in between the two, the so-called Yikes G4, which was essentially a G3 logic board put into the same case. They called it the graphite case. You can look at the top of it there and think you can get an idea why that is, and of course the color of the Apple logo. But basically, when they decided to go to the G4 processors, they wanted to use up some of the stock that they had. People weren't very happy about that, actually, figuring that they just weren't getting a big enough boost. There's a considerable jump between the G3 processor and the G4 processor, to be sure, but nothing else much changed. So that's when the Sawtooth came out eventually, well, within a couple of months, replacing the Yikes. All right. So we should take now a closer look at the machines. Looking at it from the front. There are two doors here. The CD drive came with a CD-ROM right there. And the second drive can hold a zip drive. There is no zip drive in this machine. You got your speaker there, power button, and there's the programmer or reset button, which was intended, of course, to reset the computer. With the G3 in particular, about the only way to reset it if something went wrong was to press that button, and then the machine would reboot. All right, now we should take a look at the back Let's see our port structure. Something that Apple very sadly did away with, the pass-through port. You would plug the power in here, and then you could simply plug your monitor in via that. Okay. FireWire. This was the first Apple computer that had FireWire ports. 2 FireWire 400, 800 did not exist at that point, which of course made a gigantic difference in the ability to access this computer, transfer files, etc., or just plug cameras in, a whole bunch of things. So there's the new. But here's the old. The ADB port for Apple Desktop Bus. This is the last Mac that had an ADB port. This was for the many people at that point who had legacy input devices, keyboards and mice, which would connect via that. And much like the modern or more modern Mac keyboard, wired keyboard, you could plug your ADB mouse into an ADB port on the keyboard and then plug the keyboard in, and both would be connected. Last one of those. Telephone, because telephone modems was a primary way of connecting to the internet at that point. But we do have Ethernet, 10100 Ethernet, and the first Power Mac, which had USB connectors. USB 1.1, of course, and that's how you would generally connect your keyboard and mouse. Audio out, audio in. All right. Now, of course, we'll be seeing inside here. You can't really get a good look. You can see just barely the graphics card in the top slot, as it appears here, which only has VGA, another dying thing these days. And you've got your 3 slot covers for the 3 remaining PCI expansion ports, and the Kensington lock, which all machines had at that point. All right, now, opening the machine. Now, the first Power Mac I ever had was a Power Mac G4 Sawtooth. Not a very powerful machine. I didn't really do much with it. It was for curiosity's sake more than anything else. It even at that point was an older machine. Say 7, 8 years old at that point. I then picked up a Quicksilver, and that was a heck of a machine. In any event, all of them. Just that latch. There you go. How wonderful this is. RAM slots, you have 4 RAM slots. I'm not sure exactly what's there in this machine. The maximum RAM it can take is 1 gigabyte. So you would have 4 256 meg sticks of RAM. There's your processor. It's on a ZIF card. Upgrading the processor, if you find the appropriate replacement card, is not a difficult process at all. All right, and our 3 PCI slots. Now, one of the interesting things here, this is the Revision 2. G3 Blue and White first came out in January 1999. Along about June 1999, they very quietly released this version. You're not really going to be able to see it here, but if you see the chip right there, if you look at that, you will see the indication that this is in fact the Revision 2 or Revision B logic board. The earlier ones were all Revision 1. the very obvious tip-off, you can see here you've got an IDE cable that is intended to connect two drives. That simply didn't exist before this. You could only put one drive in there, and the original Blue and White came with a whopping 6 gigabyte hard drive in it, which at the time was pretty considerable. It will accept as much as 128 gigabytes. It's limited to that on the IDE connection anyway. But again, in 1999, that was an immense amount of room. You couldn't begin to imagine using up 128 gigabytes of space. Okay, so this is the machine as we have it now. And I think our next step is going to be closing it back up and booting it up and seeing a little more exactly what we've got. So please stay tuned. All right, time for the test. Fortunately, most computer monitors still have VGA ports on them, so I didn't have to dig into the adapter pile. Incidentally, this computer cannot connect to any of the Apple Cinema displays that I have. It certainly doesn't have an ADC port. The adapter will only connect to DVI. The newer Apple Cinema displays connect via DVI anyway, and I haven't got a DVI to VGA adapter that would work with it. But anyhow, here we are. So I do have a monitor connected. Let's press the button and see what happens. That's promising. All right, we're booting into Mac OS. There's Happy Mac, OS 9. Yeah, the machine originally shipped with 8.5, although that was probably the revision A board. It may have shipped with 8.6 at that point. It will run, excuse me, it will run OS 10. It'll run up to Tiger. All right. All right, now it's filling up the screen. It is kind of stretched, of course, but let's see about this computer. Pardon me. All right, 9.0.4, that's a version of Mac OS that preceded the actual use in Classic with OS 10. So it's interesting to see. 512 megabytes, so there's a possible upgrade path right there. Okay. Look, System Profiler. And that same information, 9.0.4. Blue and White 40 gig hard drive. Okay, so that's been upgraded, because this particular version, the revision B, came with a standard 6 gigabyte that could be upgraded to, I forget whether it was 12 or 16 gig at the time of purchase. But as I said earlier, it could address as much as 128 gigabytes. All right, so we've got virtual memory going, 513 megs. And the built-in memory. So, yep, the 428 megabyte modules. Video memory of 16 megabytes. That's not a surprise, certainly. Network overview. Oh yeah, the Ethernet's in there. No modem found because it's not plugged in. All right, all right. I'll go to devices and volumes here. Keyboard, mouse, that's just what I happen to plug into it. Standard HP keyboard and a USB mouse. Ice mouse. I don't know where that comes from. All right. CD-ROM drive. Oops, get some information about that. Okay, the Machita, those are the standard CD-ROMs that came stock. And the hard drive. And not any particular information except 41.16 gigabytes total, with 1 gigabyte as 1,000. And if you're considering one kilobyte, excuse me, as 1024, this comes out to 38.34. Always confusing, the different versions of things. Now the display card is certainly something we want to take a look at. And it is your basic stock ATI Rage 128 with 16 megabytes of video RAM, which is not much at all, of course, but I mean, at the time, that was a lot. So we do have to give the machine credit for being what it was in 1999. All right. Take a look here. Why is she opening up? Okay, there we go. I don't know what I did with that. All right. Look in applications. Oh, I know exactly what's going on, I think. I was sitting on the keyboard. Now we go to applications. All right, not much. Yeah, this would appear to be a straight, simple, clean install of Mac OS 9. Internet Explorer is there, of course. 4.5. Internet Self-Repair Netscape Communicator, which is some version of 4. No, we don't want to bother with this. Okay, not worth it. Yeah, it's probably 4.5, 4.6, something like that. Okay. Yeah, I know something else we can, just for fun. Control panels. Go to sound. Simple beep was the default. There are others before that. Chew toy. You could make your own sounds, actually. Laugh. Log. Oh, that's supposed to be a chainsaw-like sound. Pong. All right. Submarine. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. I tried setting the system alert to uh-oh for a while because it seemed cute. It'll drive you out of your mind. So Sumi is usually the one I like best. When they came out with this, they were saying that was some sort of Japanese word. Actually, it isn't. Apple had been threatened with a lawsuit, and the response was hidden here in this alert sound. Okay, so where we're going to go, I think we got to do something about upgrading that 40 gig drive. I'll probably, at least for the nonce, leave that in and try adding an SSD onto that. Obviously, the RAM upgrade is a logical one to do, so we should certainly do that. I've got a FireWire 400 USB 2 card we should be able to put in an address there, so we should be good with that. Yeah, and maybe some surprises as we go on. So I think this is going to be fun. But I think as far as this introductory look, we can wrap this up right now. Be good to other people. Other people both deserve and need it. Be good to yourselves. You certainly deserve it. Take very, very good and careful care in these continuing difficult times. So we're going to be back with at least a couple more videos, I would think, on this very machine. But until we are at that point, this has been Proken Electronics.